How could one of the most famous TV stars in Britain be shot right on her own doorstep, in broad daylight? And yet, more than 20 years later, the entire country still hasn't found the real killer? This story begins with a single name, Jill Dando. If you were in the UK in the late 90s, you'd know Jill Dando as a symbol of trust on the BBC. She was the face of Crimewatch, the woman who exposed criminals and brought justice to thousands. But then, on a bright, ordinary morning, April 26, 1999, Jill Dando became a victim herself, gunned down on her front steps in the quiet London neighborhood of Fulham. What really happened that day? How did the killer vanish without leaving a single clear trace? And the big question, who wanted Jill Dando dead? In this video, you'll hear the strangest theories, the details no one has ever fully explained, and the question that's haunted Britain for more than 2 decades: who really killed Jill Dando? Stay until the end, because maybe you'll spot clues the police missed. To understand why Jill Dando's murder shook the whole country, we need to know who she really was. Jill was born in 1961 in a small Somerset town. Even as a young journalism student, she stood out. Warm voice, friendly smile, a way of telling stories that just drew you in. In 1988, Jill joined the BBC. In just a few years, she became one of the most beloved anchors and reporters in Britain. From daily news to big shows like BBC Breakfast News, Holiday, and especially Crimewatch, Jill's name became tied to the fight against crime. With Crimewatch, Jill wasn't just reading the news. She was the voice of hope for victims' families. Countless cold cases were solved because of the reconstructions Jill hosted. Her primetime appeals helped catch criminals. Off-screen, she was the perfect picture of a trusted British woman. No scandals, always smiling, always giving back. At one point, she was voted Britain's most trusted woman on TV. A woman with no known enemies, no messy secrets. So who had enough motive, or guts, to kill her? And why do it right outside her house, in the middle of the day? The deeper you look, the stranger it gets. That morning, in just a few minutes, Jill Dando, the face of justice, became a victim of a faceless killer. April 26, 1999. A typical Monday morning. London skies calm, gentle sun. Jill left her fiancé's house, Dr. Alan Farthing, planning to stop by her own home in Fulham, then head back to BBC for work. Around 11:30 a.m., Jill parked outside her semi-detached house, a quiet, upscale street not far from central London. Street cameras caught her last moments, still smiling, light blue coat, blonde hair shining. But just minutes after she got out of her car, the unthinkable happened. Right on her front steps, a stranger came up from behind. He pressed a gun to her head and fired. One single bullet, straight through her temple. The killer disappeared immediately. No one heard a shot. A few neighbors said they heard a strange sound, but thought it was just a car door slamming. One witness, a few houses away, saw a man walking calmly, carrying something wrapped in newspaper. Police believe the gun had a homemade silencer. To this day, no one has ever found it. No fingerprints, no DNA, no clear camera shot of the suspect's face. One perfect shot, one bullet. It looked like a pro job. No panic, no mistakes. But why broad daylight? Why take that risk in a quiet street where anyone could see? The investigation started immediately. From almost no clues, police chased every scrap of a lead. But the more they looked, the stranger it got. Jill Dando's death shocked Britain overnight. A national TV icon, murdered on her doorstep, in daylight. Pressure on London's police was huge. Hundreds of reporters outside, millions waiting for an answer. But the crime scene? Almost spotless. No DNA, no shell casings, no clear footprints. The killer didn't break in. He waited, struck, vanished. Detectives knocked on every door nearby. Some people said they'd seen a man hanging around Fulham days before. Someone else saw a suspicious guy in a hat, face hidden behind a newspaper, but just for a moment. No CCTV ever caught the killer clearly. Street cameras were blurry, or just missed those crucial seconds. Police believed the killer knew exactly where every camera was and how to dodge them. One theory said it was a stalker, a fan obsessed with Jill. Another theory pointed to a criminal Jill helped catch on Crimewatch, coming back for revenge. Some rumors even talked about foreign gangs, spies, or a hired hitman. But none of it ever went beyond rumors. Hundreds of leads were collected, then went cold. A few people were arrested, but let go. No evidence stuck. A year later, out of nowhere, one name appeared: Barry George. He lived just a few streets away from Jill. Strange, reclusive, caught stalking celebrities before. Was he really the killer, or just someone police used to calm the public? Barry George went to trial, but the truth behind that verdict is still a huge question mark. It turned Jill Dando's murder into a legal mess that lasted for years. A year after Jill's murder, police said they had their man, Barry George, a local nobody. But the moment his name hit the news, people were split. Barry George was seen as an eccentric loner. He'd been caught spying on famous women, filming them, pretending to be a cop. He'd wander Fulham dressed like a wannabe rock star, posing with fancy cars to look important. So what did police really find? In Barry's home, they found an old coat. Inside the pocket, a single tiny speck of gunpowder. Just one. They said it proved Barry fired the shot that killed Jill, but forensics experts pushed back. A speck that small could come from anywhere, especially for someone who'd hung out at shooting ranges or handled old guns. Plus, Barry George had never been trained to shoot. He had learning difficulties, poor eyesight. How could he creep up on Jill, deliver one perfect shot, then disappear like a pro hitman? Even so, the jury found him guilty. Life in prison. Some people felt relieved. Justice was served. Others, the police locked up the wrong man just to make the headlines go away. In 2007, the case reopened. Independent experts showed the gunshot residue evidence was too weak. The appeals court overturned the verdict. Barry George walked free, after 8 years in prison for a murder he likely didn't commit. He left prison still protesting his innocence. And Britain? Right back to square one. If it wasn't Barry George, who killed Jill Dando? Where's the real killer? Why has no one come forward? The Barry George twist was huge, but it only opened more questions. A crazed stalker, a hired gun, a shadowy conspiracy involving spies or politics. No one really knows. Barry George was freed. The evidence crumbled. But more than 20 years later, the theories just won't die. One theory feels plausible. Jill Dando was a national star, on TV every week for Crimewatch. Obsessed fans, stalkers, always a risk. Maybe someone followed her for months waiting for the right moment. But if that's true, why did it look like a perfect hit? The second theory, even darker. Jill helped expose dangerous criminals. Some went to prison for life. Could one have ordered revenge? One shot to the temple. No mistakes, no trace. That's not rage. That's cold, calculated. Some even believe a movie-like scenario. Jill Dando was rumored to be digging into smuggling and Eastern European mafia networks. She might have found out something too sensitive, a silencing hit, in broad daylight, to send a message. So why? Why just one shot? And then walk away so calmly? Why not a single fingerprint, no DNA, nice, in a street full of cameras? And why did every clue just disappear, like it never existed? Over 20 years later, hundreds questioned, thousands of leads. But no truth. Maybe the scariest part? Jill's killer could still be out there, just another face in the crowd. These chilling theories pop up every year when people remember Jill Dando. But the more they talk, the more haunting the question gets. Who really pulled the trigger? And will we ever know? More than 2 decades since that single bullet, Jill Dando's portrait still hangs on BBC's walls, a reminder of the woman the whole country trusted. But it's also an unhealed wound, not just for her family, but for British media too. After her death, Crimewatch kept airing. The show still hunts criminals, still asks the public for help. Many of Jill's old colleagues say, if Jill were alive, she'd still be there, in front of the camera, calling for justice. even for someone just like her. Jill's family never believed Barry George was the killer. They quietly work with private detectives, hoping even the smallest clue will break this case open. But the leads fade with time, and the question stays. Who would dare kill a symbol of justice in broad daylight, then vanish like they never existed? Who silenced Jill? And why does justice stay silent too? Sometimes, when mysteries stay unsolved, it just makes you wonder. Maybe some truths are buried too deep, protected by forces too big to reveal. But sometimes, the killer is just a nameless shadow who knew how to disappear. So what about you? Which theory do you believe? Who really killed Jill Dando? And will justice ever come? Leave a comment below. Share your theory. Maybe together we'll piece this puzzle back together. And don't forget to subscribe. Turn on notifications, because we'll bring you more chilling true crime stories, more secrets, more questions, still waiting for the truth.